there are so many talking heads out there and charlatans and people who are just pushing nonsense. I mean, the one that I keep going back to lately is like fiber is killing people. Like there's a broccoli and fiber thing now, and I see the little things coming up.
Jeez.
How does someone new to this space, it doesn't just have to be fitness, it could be health, nutrition, whatever you think is relevant, Dr. Mike, how do they navigate that without maybe the frame of reference that you certainly have? I maybe have a little bit as well.
Yeah. I would say, depending on the degree of involvement they'd like to have in understanding their diet, you might want to like pick up a book or read an article or two, maybe from an accredited governing body that tells you about the basics of nutrition. And then you can look at people who claim very wildly different things as like marginally less likely to be correct.
Interesting.
Nothing can really replace an education in the basics, so that's a really good thing. Another thing is I have developed like a 10-point BS detector. It allows you with no knowledge of that specific field to render a probability estimate of, is this person not saying true things or are they? One of them is people who are saying things that seem to be completely reverse of what you understood. There's a marginal probability that they're incorrect. Another one is, do they say something different than most of the other experts are saying? They could be an iconoclast and could be ahead of their time, but that's less likely than they're just full of. Another one is, what kind of language are they using? Are they using relativistic language or absolutist language? Absolutist language is like, broccoli is killing you, period, stop eating it. Relativistic language to say similar thing is, look, you gotta be concerned about your fiber intake because fiber has downsides as well as upsides.
Right.
Now, you could even say fiber has more net downsides than upsides, which would be categorically false. But based on how you say it, there's a lower and a higher probability that you're correct or incorrect. Like, Andrew Huberman, he gets some things wrong. Everyone does. But he's usually not like screaming at people about it and calling people idiots. Then you got a guy calling people idiots and screaming about something he could be right about, but it's a little bit less likely if there's less of a balanced approach. And it's those kinds of context cues that tell you whether or not you're onto something. There's a great example of that by analogy is there was a dude selling a book about how to get free money from various government programs. And his commercial on late night TV was him in a white suit with green dollar signs, or alternatively a green suit with white dollar signs all over it. And he was like an insane person that screamed a lot. It was funny. It was attention grabby. But like, if you bought his book with the full intention of exploiting the government to get as much money as possible, it might have been a great book. And it might have been tons of like, dude, just declare your business a nonprofit or whatever, all these super legal things to do. But when someone's like a crazy person jumping up and down and yelling at you on late night TV, if you're like, man, this guy's got it figured out, oh, geez, maybe, but probably not. So if someone's like, broccoli kills, and you're like, man, like my pediatrician said broccoli was good. Everything I've ever heard said broccoli was good. Another one now that we have access to, I'll say is probably the best thing to do, is just ask AI about it. Ask a chatbot. You got Claude 3.5, you got GPT 4.0. Whenever this podcast comes out, and if people listen to it later, this will no doubt be outdated. But the modern large language models are real smart, and they know basics really well. Like, you can ask ChatGPT, like, hey, is broccoli bad for my health and is fiber bad? It'll, in a very gentle, nuanced way, be like, there are certain ways in which too much fiber can be harmful. But for most Americans, more fiber is better for the following 8 reasons. And you're like, okay, but how do you know this stuff? Can you like reference some kind of sources of where you got this? And it'll be like, yeah, here's 10. It'll be like U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Safety, Registered Dietitians Association. You'll be like, all right, now where are the sources for like fiber is bad? It'll be like Prison Planet, Alex Jones, ketosforwinners.com, carnivore.net. And you're like, right, okay, so little different standard here.
At the risk of sounding foolish, which I'm always at risk for, will AI give you sources too? Because that's my biggest insecurity with AI. It does. Yeah. That's why I'm always on I'm always in some journal trying to say, if I'm going to say something, especially I'm not a doctor, I better have a piece of paper and the references behind me, where at least people can see this is in good faith as of this study. Not that it can't, be maybe proven less likely or more likely in the future. But that's so interesting. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, it does now. And you can even prompt it to your level of specificity. You can say, hey, using only comprehensive literature reviews and meta-analyses as sources. Please give me the lay of the land for the following topic, and include as many comprehensive lit reviews and as you possibly can, and I'll give you a few prompts to search the internet over and over to find them. It can do that now.
That's incredible.
GPT, the free, the 0-1 trial model can actually tell you its entire reasoning process as it does it. So in about a year, this is going to be a nominal ask of AI with no extra input. It's just large language models are getting so good all the time, exponentially so, that the probability of being correct on various issues is now just into the 90 percentile plus. Now, some very deep, very nuanced topics, they're going to get wrong. Like I asked GPT-01 about like stimulus to fatigue ratio dynamics. It looked like it was saying correct stuff, but on the details, it was like, that's wrong, that's backwards. It's not using systemic fatigue properly here. But like, this is very esoteric stuff. When you're talking about people with basics who just like, I'm just trying to make sense of food, and some asshole at work told me broccoli's going to kill me. Like, is that really true? GPT can knock that right out of the park for you, no problem.
It's so you're so confident in that because you have such a background and you're an academic where you can say wait, that's where you're kind of going astray, and you can draw that line. For someone like myself who is trying to maybe bring this to people in a way that is understandable, but I'm certainly not the authority, I think I'm more insecure about that because I maybe don't know where that line is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So that's fair.
It's
at least
all relative. I can speak with more degrees of confidence, sometimes less degrees of confidence.
Sure.
Another thing is if you get something wrong and someone says, you got that wrong, you're like, look, I'm just like a guy trying to do my best. If I get something wrong, they're like, aren't you that guy that's like super popular and the world listens to about this? And you're like, you're right. So it's a little bit of yin and yang there.